And so we turn from that vision of a new heaven and a new earth to this vision of a new Jerusalem. A new Jerusalem. And perhaps that's more difficult for our minds to get round than the idea of a new earth and a new heaven. But of course, Jerusalem was the great centre of Jewish religion and faith. And the Old Testament prophets again and again speak of Jerusalem as the place where God dwells with his people. The temple as being that very sacred place of God's dwelling with his people. And prophets like Isaiah and Ezekiel, after the destruction of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple, look to a time where the temple and Jerusalem will be rebuilt. And John, in the book of Revelation, draws from all these passages in the Old Testament, from the book of Daniel and Ezekiel and Zephaniah and Isaiah and Exodus, and he draws from all those different books, these pictures, this language of Jerusalem and the temple. I'm told there are 404 verses in the book of Revelation and 518 references to earlier scriptures. So when you're reading the book of Revelation, there's all this language that hasn't just been made up by John, but has come from his reading of earlier scriptures from the Bible, and particularly from that time where the Jewish people were longing to come back to Jerusalem and come to a renewed and new city. Now, the big difference with John's vision is that the temple, there is no temple in this new Jerusalem, because God will be the temple and Jesus will be the temple. There'll be no need for a building like the Jerusalem temple. Well, with all that in mind, let's hear just a few verses as John continues from the 21st chapter. And over to John now.
Continuing Revelation chapter 21, and verses 10 to 11, then verses 21 to 26. The New Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem. Verse 10. The Spirit took control of me, and the angel carried me to the top of a very high mountain. He showed me Jerusalem, the holy city, coming down out of heaven from God, and shining with the glory from God. The city shone like a precious stone, like a jasper, clear as crystal. And then we go to verse 21. The 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each gate was made from a single pearl. The street of the city was of pure gold, transparent as glass. I did not see any temple in the city, because its temple is the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb. The city has no need of the sun or the moon to shine on it, because the glory of God shines on it, and the Lamb is its lamp. The peoples of the world will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their wealth into it. The gates of the city will stand open all day. They will never be closed, because there will be no night there. The greatness and the wealth of the nations will be brought into the city. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.